Hello, universe. Yes, indeed, it is still Saturday. It's a very late video today. Why have you taken so long to do this video? I don't know. Why have I taken so long to do this video? Set an alarm for 14 minutes from now. So what had happened was... Okay, so what had happened was that I have been a little bit obsessed today. So I saw Man of Steel a couple days ago. Was it this morning? What the hell day was it? It wasn't last night, it was the day before yesterday. Yeah, that's it. So anyways, I talked to my buddy Robert very early on Friday morning. It's like 4 or 5 in the morning. And he encouraged me to watch Game of Thrones, which I have the books on my iPod, and on you, you're right there. It's not polite to point. Don't point. Sorry about that. I'm retarded. Anyway, so I have it on my iPhone. I've gotten a little bit obsessed, as I've told you, though, with listening to books about Lincoln. So I hadn't really read the books yet. I want to now, though. So, last night, I found myself, while working, listening to the first episode of Game of Thrones in the background on Amazon. Well, that wasn't working because there was there's a lot of visual stuff in it. So I had to flip over and watch it. First episode I thought was, pretty good. Robert has been encouraging me to do reviews of that because he said, that'll get a lot of YouTube views. Well, I've been wanting to do videos on The Walking Dead. I haven't necessarily wanted to do them on Game of Thrones, though. I don't want to just do videos to get views. I would like to get more views. I want it to be on something, though, that I enjoy, right? So, I was listening to the first episode while I was doing work in the background. Too many visual things happening. So I watched the episode from the beginning. And I thought, this is pretty good. So I decided to watch the second episode. Well, I ended up watching all the way through episode 3 before I decided to do my last workout of the night and lay down. Pretty good. Pretty good. So this morning I got up, did some paperwork for IRS because I had to send off some of my taxes for the quarterlies. And then started doing work on this new facility that I am going to be bidding on because it's a lot more money. So I did that, and then after that I started watching episodes of Game of Thrones again because I went in and I know it may not seem realistic, but I like the first few episodes enough. Well, backtrack a little bit, Kingsley, rewind. If I bought them individually, it'd be about $3 an episode. Or I could get 10 episodes, and it was like $2.55 or something an episode. So I saved a couple of bucks. So I decided to save a couple of bucks, and I bought the entire season. So after the 3 episodes I watched last night, I decided to pick up and keep watching episodes. Well, until a short time ago, I was watching Game of Thrones all the way through season 1. So, I guess I get a little too OCD at times about certain things. Sometimes it's paperwork, sometimes it's videos, sometimes it's this, sometimes it's that. And so I sort of see it through to the end. And I watched the entire season of Game of Thrones. Almost got through a video without doing that. So I watched the entire season and then spent a couple of hours talking to the current manager of the facility that's actually Yeah, what's going on here? What is going on? What is going on with my elliptical? That was weird. So anyway, well, really, I didn't push the proper button on my elliptical. So that was my fault. Why did it go off like that? Alright, well, regardless. So, I watched all the way through season 1 and got a bunch of questions answered about this facility. Still have a handful of questions left to answer, or to get answers to. I'm going to call him again tomorrow, though. Real nice guy who's actually running it right now. He's ready to retire, though. He's ready for a break, take it easy, in the 60s range, and wants to relax, not stress himself out so much. So he's been doing this kind of thing for almost a quarter century, and he wants to, like I said, relax. So good for him. If it makes him happy, that's exactly what he should do. So I see a lot of potential for it, a lot of potential growth in the facility based on what he sells and what I sell, how much I sell my stuff for, how much he sells his stuff for. So there's a lot of growth that I'm excited about. So, and he's ready to just get it done. He's ready for someone to take the facility, stock it, and then he's out. He wants to go home. He's ready to retire. Ready. So there you go. That's pretty cool in a lot of ways for me. So if I can do as good a job as I did on my last presentation, I guess I didn't do that good of a job because I didn't get the job, right? But if I can do as strong a presentation as I did previously, there's a good chance I can land this one. And I feel fairly confident about it. It's just going to take some effort, but you know what? It's okay. I can put in the effort. I can make the money, so I'm not worried. So there we are on that. So that's kind of what's going on, really. Let's see. What else is there? What else? I'm a little irritated with myself that I had so many problems with the elliptical when I first started it. It's going now, but all the time I spent on here talking didn't show up. Either way. So now I'm actually excited to read the Game of Thrones book and to potentially do reviews on it. I think though, if I do reviews on Game of Thrones, I believe it's going to be a little different from what most people are doing. Because Game of Thrones is a really complicated show. Very complicated. And while they follow the books fairly closely from what I understand, well, just so you know, every season is one of the books. So season 1 is book 1. There's apparently 5 books right now, and there's going to be a total of 6 or 7. The writer is still writing, or penning rather, the final book. So season 3 and season 4 were book 3. So, but that's kind of insignificant. What I may do though, if I do reviews of it though, is episode 1, I may do 2 parts to it. I may go Game of Thrones, season 1, episode 1, Stark storyline, and just follow the Starks. And then, since their mortal enemies are the Lannisters, I may do Lannisters. And her name is escaping me right now, but the dragon daughter and dragon son. I may do those. One for them separately. Because I feel like it's a really strong way to sort of help people who get easily confused by the storyline to sort of get into it. And go, okay, now I understand. So you can watch the stuff on the Starks, go, okay, that's great. Then you can watch the stuff on the Lannisters and go, that's great. And then watch the story of the dragon daughter. And then go, okay, that's great, I got that now. So that's my perspective. That's what I believe I'm going to go after when I'm doing this. Just so I can make it a little different from what everyone else is doing. Because before I watched season 1, I watched a couple of reviews to see what they were doing. And it was a little confusing. Now mind you, I did a couple, only watched a couple. One was the Schmoes. The Schmoes knows. And they did a review. And they didn't really get into too much depth. They didn't want to do spoilers, right? So they didn't talk spoilers or too much in depth. The girl I saw who did, named the Lady Kavla, I think was her name. She did a pretty good in-depth review. It was also really in-depth though. And if you don't understand everything going on, it's easy to get sort of confused with the names because they have some really sort of fantasy, old school, medieval names. The main guy's name is Ned Stark. When you get into the Lancasters, or the Lannisters though, there's Jaime, which is the simplest one. There's Cersei, there's Lancel, there's Tyrion, there's Tywin. So they get into really confusing names. Confusing names a little bit. And then you have to understand who Jon Snow is, because he's technically a Stark, but he's a bastard son. So I think I'm going to do it that way. I have some regrets that I haven't gotten on here until now. I'm going to get back on at least one more time before I call it a day. I may not make my 3 times per day. I'm thinking of adding some new things to my diet, though. Excuse me, or to my sort of what I eat. Thinking about doing a cleanse. Thinking about it. And I'm also thinking about trying to use ice chips to sort of subside my hunger. So you just sort of eat ice chips. I know a lot of pregnant women do that from time to time, believe it or not. At least some pregnant women do. I'm thinking about doing it as a health perspective to sort of clean out my system. So I'm thinking about doing that because I really want to start losing more weight on a consistent basis. And while this helps, I think I need to add some new things. So there is our 15 minutes today. My apologies for the lateness of it. Obsessed with Game of Thrones Season 1. That's behind me though. Look for some reviews. And this is video 101. So, 1, 0, 1. So, I appreciate all who have watched vids. My sincere thanks to you. Coke Points giveaway coming around very soon. So stick around for that. Subscribe, feel free to comment below on Game of Thrones or whatever. And I will see you tomorrow. Take care of yourself. Enjoy the evening.